Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden. In today's video, I want to start my sowing process, a big process every single year. And this is just the first of quite some videos that I will dedicate to sowing. And today I want to sow outside. Strange enough, in the midst of winter to sow something outside, but there are some plants that just love that and require some cooler temperatures. So all I'm going to do now is prepare myself a little bit, and then I want to take you with me into the garden and sow two different things in two different ways, because last year I sowed one of them and I did it wrong. So I want to show you this year how it hopefully works better and how you should do it right. So in order to prevent that you do the same mistake to what I did last year. So hope you are excited to join me in my garden today. It really is quite a wonderful day to be out here in the garden and do something, even though it kind of looks grey, grim and overcast, which it is. But surprisingly, the temperatures this winter are fairly mild, and that is ideal for me to really get on with some of those wonderful projects in the garden, such as sowing my seeds. So whenever you want to sow or grow something from seed, which is a wonderful process to do, the first thing you really want to do is you want to get all the information needed on how to do it correctly. And traditionally, most of the seed suppliers will print all of the information at the back of a seed pack. Well, here's nothing, because I ordered them online. So all the information was available on the homepage. And there is information, for example, does a seed require light in order to germinate, or do you need to push it maybe into the soil? What kind of temperatures does it need? All those things that are really vital. And temperature, this is the first thing that I want to talk about with you today, because I'm sowing outdoors and these will stay outside. There is a big range of seeds that do need warm temperatures in order to germinate. So they will thrive very happily on your windowsill. But then there are those seeds such as the Baptisia, because this is what I want to grow in my garden this year. They need to go through a period of cold temperatures in order to trigger the germination process. Now, there are a lot of examples of those kind of seeds that actually do need to go through a cold period in order to germinate, but the seed suppliers are so nice that they prepare the seed for you. Best example are snapdragons. So when you buy snapdragons, most of the time you can just very happily sprinkle them in a seed tray, put them on your windowsill, and it's got to work. But if you do collect snapdragon seeds in your own garden, then you need to make sure that you sow them now, or you do the seed in you put the seed in a little bag like this, put it in the fridge for 2 to 3 weeks to kind of like fool the seed and tell it like, I've gone through a period of cold temperatures, and then they're ready to be sown and it's bound to work. But since I have space and since I really want to get on with, I'm not going to put these into the fridge. I will sow them straight away and directly into some lovely soil, because the seed supplier said that they have not been prepared. So I really need to sow them now. So when you sow something, there are all different ways and methods on how you can sow. And throughout the year, I'm going to share more videos with you, so you will see all different kind of methods. Here, I'm going to do something which is called station sowing. So you see that I have prepared bigger pots full of soil, and I'm going to talk about the soil in a second. You can also have a seed tray, for example, smaller modules. But here there is a reason on why I chose bigger pots to start them off with. So first, whenever you have a bigger seed, and everything that belongs to the pea or bean family is always a really good example, such as lupins, my Baptisia, or sweet peas, for example. They will be stationed, so because they're vigorous and they have very fleshy roots. They don't produce kind of like fibrous roots. So normally when you even have sweet peas and you want to start them off indoors, you have root trainers, because you want to have a deep space so the root can really penetrate down into the soil. Lupins, they generally have a big fleshy root, which is also going to go down deep into the soil. I'm not 100% sure with Baptisia. I tried to Google and I didn't really find good information about it. So I just think that it might be the same as it is with a lupin. So this is why I chose a bigger container and one that is deeper, so that the fleshy root has the ability to really go down deep into the soil. And what I will do is I will put 2 seeds always in one container, so that I have a guarantee that at least one of them is going to come up. And if both of them come up, maybe at one point when I have strong plants, I could just divide it and pot it on into a bigger pot or straight into the garden. I always need to see how much time I have, obviously. Speaking quickly of the soil. So whenever you start seeds, you want to use a special seed mix or a seed compost that you buy, preferably in your garden center. There are different reasons for it. The first one is, if you buy in the garden center, it is sterile, which is quite important, because if you don't really know how your seedling is going to look, and if you use your own homegrown compost, for example, it'll be full of weed seeds. And then you might not really know, okay, what is a weed seed and what is my plant now? Baptisia is easy because I have these distinct leaves kind of comparable to lupins. So that doesn't really worry me. But still, I like to start off with a sterile, nice, fresh soil so that there is no competition in there. Traditionally, these kind of soil mixes, they were made of 2/3 peat and 1/3 sand. Nowadays, obviously, it's not made of peat anymore. And if always make sure that the bag says peat-free, because you want to protect the swampland or marshland, bogland, however you want to call it, so that the peat does not come from those areas. So this is like a lofty, nice, fresh mix. Sand is in there to just make it lofty and light. There's also perlite in there, which is these white parts that you sometimes see. Well, I'm not going to see it now, but I'm going to give you a closer look in a second, which is volcanic. So you really want to make sure that this fresh soil is lofty and light and poor in nutrition. And there are two reasons for it. The first one is poor in nutrition is important because if it was really rich soil, then some of the seeds might just start to shoot up and then you have really dangly kind of plants, and this is not really what you want to have. This is like a troubling start off. Second thing, it has to be lofty because the seedling, when it starts to germinate, you might not see a lot in the beginning because then the plant is really busy with developing nice, fibrous, small roots, and this is important so that it really has the ability to root in everywhere into the soil where it wants to root in. So when you pot it on, it has a good, strong root system. And you pot it on normally if it has the first 2-3 sets of true leaves, really depending on the variety that you're growing. But that is, I think, all the really important information that you need for this. So the next thing I'm going to do, well, I'm just going to open it now like this because I don't have scissors here with me. I'm going to give you a closer look at the seed in a second. They are definitely smaller to lupin seed, but you can tell, like if you ever sown lupins or beans or anything, that they sit in the same family. They're very, very comparable. So all I do now is take a seed and put 2 in the container, so 1 in each corner, and then just push them in a little bit. Maybe just like 1/2 centimeter is enough because the seed is rather on the smaller size and always in the same corner of the container. And this is all what I'm going to do. What you would normally do now, and that is a good idea to do, but I don't have it, is you want to cover your pots with some grit. Just a thin layer of grit over it. It's very difficult to buy grit here for some weird reason. I don't really know why. Normally I get like teeny tiny pebbles, but even they were sold out. The reason for that is, number one, it is that it holds the moisture quite well. And number 2 is it prevents any kind of weed seeds from flying in. So it is just a really nice idea to gently cover it with grit. So I hope that maybe next week I'll be able to find some, then I will cover it. The last thing you need to do is obviously always label it. I use these plastic labels because they're recyclable and you just write with a pencil on it. So I can just reuse them every single year over and over again. So Baptisia. Here we go, inside. Normally the thing is like with Baptisia, this is the only kind of plant from the lupin family that I'm going to grow, so I will recognize them anyway, so that doesn't really worry me, but still it's a good idea to have a label in there. So what I'm going to do now is fill all of my pots with them, store them somewhere in the back, and then I take you with me to another area of the garden to plant the second seed. These are the Baptisia seed, and I think you can tell that they look a lot like small bean seeds, so really similar to lupins or to sweet peas if you've ever sown them. A lot smaller though, but still I'm going to push them into the ground, and I'm really excited to give you updates on these later on in the year. The next plant that I want to sow today, I think it's one of a lot of gardeners' favorite. It's poppy seeds. And last year I already did a video where I was sowing poppies. I don't really remember the variety, to be honest, because I've never seen the flowers. And I was sowing them individually, like into modules. And then one of you guys commented on like, well, they might germinate, but poppies really don't like to be transplanted. And that is a fact that I learned the hard way last year. So it is definitely better to sow your poppies directly into the ground. So you really need to be sure and you need to know where you want to have them, because once they're germinated, well, there isn't really a lot of transplanting in the game, unfortunately. So I've decided that in this brand new area at the back of a garden down by the slope, this is where I want to have a little patch of poppies. So poppies also need to go through a period of very cold temperatures in order to germinate. germinate. Poppy seeds are really fine and small, so just a whiff of wind might just carry them all away. So what I do is I came in with a rake and I just quickly raked over the ground a little bit here, just to make sure that it's nice and open in this area. These poppies, I collected them, oh, dirty. I collected them last year because every now and then, occasionally, poppies just pop up here everywhere, like just on the lanes along the farmland. Here, this was one that just came in the front of a garden and had a beautiful color, kind of like a mauve violet tone, very hard to describe. The thing that I also sometimes do might be a little bonkers though, but if in the summertime I walk with Alfie just somewhere in the farmland in the back that you see here, and I see beautiful wildflowers like some beautiful wild poppies, I would just mark them. I have like some color embroidery thread or wool or something, and just really put it around the stem of one of those plants. So later on in the year, when the seeds are ready, I remember where it is. So I could just take at least one of them, tip it over and collect the seed. So this seed, it's a little windy now here. I told you it's very, very fine. So what you want to do is sprinkle it very fine on the soil here in this area. I can't even really see where I'm sowing it because it is so tiny. And then I'm going to cover it again a little bit with some soil, and that should do the trick. So I hope that this year I will be more successful with my poppies because I really love them. I think they're just so country and just easy and whimsical and dreamy, and a lot of those words that I use to describe my garden. So I'd be very happy if it's got to work, and if not, then maybe poppies are just really not my flower, but fingers crossed. So I think I'm very positive that this is going to do the trick this year. This is how the poppy seeds are looking. So you can really tell in comparison to the Baptisia that they are tiny. So it is very vital to do it on a day where the wind is not blowing them away instantly, but so delicate, beautiful. Sometimes hard to believe that an entire beautiful plant is going to grow out of such a tiny kind of seed. That's it for today's video. So my garden year 2023 has officially started for me, at least, because once I put the first seed into the ground, this is when the new garden year really starts. So I'm really thrilled about this process. And to give you a heads up, this is just the first video that I will share about this topic, because there will be plenty of more videos. I also want to do a little bit of a tour on those kind of seeds that I ordered and those kind of plants and flowers that I want to grow in my garden this year, because there are a couple of those that I never grew ever in my entire life actually before. So I'm really thrilled about those, and I think it might be quite interesting for you as well. And then some videos are going to do happen inside, like how I sow them, how I grow them on, how I pot them on, all those things, because I just think it is a great fun project. I just heard the pheasant, it's just in the neighbor's garden. There's so many pheasants here at the moment. It's really amazing. And Alfie's also quite intrigued about the pheasants, obviously. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope it was interesting for you, and I would love to welcome you next time around in my garden again. Take care, guys. Bye.